come to Jesus being born of the Virgin Mary. How could this possibly be? Well, you may or may not recall that throughout the scriptural narratives, throughout the long stories in the Bible, there were several women who gave birth in unexpected ways or at unexpected times. Abraham's wife, Sarah, at 90 years old, go figure. Rebecca, right? Rebecca, you might not remember that, but go back to Genesis and read the stories. You'll see that not only Rebecca, but also Rachel was barren. This story doesn't go on. It doesn't move on. The people of God don't become the people of God without one surprising, perhaps miraculous birth after another. In a time of deliverance, the mother of Samson gave birth to Samson. She was barren as well. She hasn't given a name, or I would tell you. And the mother of Samuel, the prophet who anointed David to become king. And if David doesn't become king, well, and if Samuel's not there to anoint him, well, you see how important these stories are, these stories of births, of times when God somehow miraculously in God's own way opens up the wombs of the women in order to have a child, to make a way for all of God's people. That said, all of those are different from virgin birth, aren't they? Those are all like, maybe it could happen, unlikely, but it could. But how do you have a virgin birth? How do you have a birth without a human sperm and a human egg? It makes no sense to our minds. And I'm just going to let that be. Perhaps to let it not make sense. I'm not here to explain things to you and say this is the ABC and XYZ of how it happened. But I do want to explore just very briefly what the point of this is. When we read the story of Jesus' birth from the Gospel of Luke, there are a couple of things that are important to note. First is the sort of headline that goes on it, on the story, which is, well, with God all things are possible. All things. All things. Should we rule out the possibility of the birth to a virgin? Well, not if all things are possible. We would have to if it said most things are possible, but it's a very strong construction in the original Greek. With God, all things are possible. So that opens possibilities for our lives. The other thing, though, is that all things are possible with Mary saying, "Let it be to me according to your word." She gave consent. She said yes. She agreed. She entered into the arrangement, the way that God was going to open salvation to all. So we remember that today. With God, all things are possible with our submission and our consent. Next time things get a little bit, I don't know if easier is the word, but a little bit more familiar. Was crucified, suffered under Pontius Pilate. See, I keep getting ahead of myself. All right, I'll see you then.